Hey, what's up? Honda Insight Restoration video number 2. I'm making these shorter than my last videos. Found that's better for people, but I wanted to update you guys who are following this, present or future. So the cars is cleaned up since I last showed you last drive. I've done a significant amount of cleanup, paint correction, cleaned up the headlights. They were all foggy and gross. Now they look good. And did a good bit of touch-up paint on the car. And 3 things I wanted to point out here tonight that I'm working on. Got some floor mats too. I ordered a bunch of parts. I think I mentioned some of this in the first video. But I've got a catalytic converter on order. Yesterday I did order a Bumblebee battery, so that's going to probably be 3 weeks. They're running behind. And a bunch of other little stuff. I found a short shifter actually that I think will fit in this car after poking around some. It's already actually very short, but hey, more shortness in the shifter, shorter throws is always good. So 3 things I've done since the last video. The first thing is I added a dead pedal from a Honda Accord. It was like a 2000 Honda Accord, and I got to clean that up and fill those holes, but it fit right in there real nicely, so that was a nice little change. And then the next thing I did was I made a armrest. So this is the factory armrest, and after reading around, I discovered that the armrest from a 6th generation Civic, which is a 96 through 2000, will fit into this very closely, and the plastics are actually similar colors. It just so happens that I have a 6th gen Civic, but I didn't rob the armrest out of that. Instead, I went to the junkyard today, and they're 17 bucks, and I'll just mock up here and show you. This is the stock one. Of course, there's no place to put your right arm. That tiny little thing. So I had to trim this a little bit, and basically what you got to do is you got 2, these are the mounts for the stock one. So you take 2 screws out of here, these 2, and then you got to cut the Civic, you can see there, so that it'll just rest down on top of those 2 pieces of metal. And then I need an assistant, but I'll show you the best I can. This guy just slides right on here. There we go. And so then you just kind of finagle it back, and I had to trim this up a little bit to make it fit with a Dremel. So I'm going to find some sort of trim piece or something to fit to cover this gap, but basically it just fits down, and it's, you know, it's nice and sturdy. I'm going to get some screws eventually here and down here and just screw it into this piece. But the colors are close. It's actually nice. If I can find another one, I go to junkyards pretty regularly. So if I find, they actually do have a gray tone, which actually is in that car, but I'm not going to rob it from that car. So, but if I could find a gray eventually, I will. I actually saw 7 of those cars at the junkyard, and only one had a decent armrest that wasn't all beat up. But eventually, I go there regularly, so I'll find a gray one and swap it out and sell this one or whatever. But you got to trim it a little bit. Like I said, I'm going to find a piece of something to fit here, but make it a little better looking. But it's not bad. And so now I have the Civic armrest. Nice here, and this is perfect actually. It matches that one perfectly. So little things like that in the dead pedal that make a difference. Like I said, I've got the short shifter on the way. I've got the catalytic converter on the way. I'm going to order a rear motor mount after. I'm going to take this one off and take a look at it. I think it's shot because the car shakes really bad in reverse, and I think that's the culprit. I've poked around and found out. Other thing I did, so tomorrow I'm getting the windshield installed, and so there's a fella named Killer 3 Cylinder. That's his YouTube channel. His name is Scott. And you can see this crack maybe. I don't know if you can tell, but actually I don't know if you can tell here, but in any case, this has a crack all the way across. So I'm getting a new windshield. But anyway, Scott, Killer 3 Cylinder, great guy. I actually talked to him. He has a video that shows in great detail how to do this. But basically, these clips have to be cut. Not these clips, but the clips that go into here. They don't just pop out, they'll break. So they have to be cut, and it's a mess. If you watch his video, you'll see. So I followed his procedure, and this actually, you can see all this gunk here. Whoever had this car, this is not the original windshield. So whoever had this before, like all the clips were broken, a bunch of the clips here. So these have these clips, I'll show you close up, that fit into all these. And if you just pull it off like the normal person installing a windshield does, this, I don't know what these are called, but this tooth here will actually rip that plastic piece right off. So when I pulled mine off, they were already, like half of them were already broken anyway. These were all ripped, and like somebody had like epoxied a bunch of epoxy on here. By the way, if you ever do this, and Scott talks about this, but you want to put some kind of sealer around this and the one over there, because this leaks and gets the seatbelt wet on this car. So I did that while I was in here. But anyway, yeah, so I pulled this off because the windshield guys would have broken it. So when you pull it off, and again, referencing Scott's video, you got to pry this open real carefully and then pull the tab out, otherwise it'll just crack. So I was hoping mine were not cracked. They were already cracked, but it probably would have been worse if the guys doing the windshield tomorrow had just done it. So I went ahead and got it out the best I could, cleaned all that up, and then I had to glue these. Like I said, they were all just fragmented in there. There were pieces kind of laying everywhere. So this is what I'm talking about, these clips. And as you can see, most of mine are just complete. Like this one's actually good, but you can see the glue and epoxy on it because it was cracked. But some of them were even completely cracked off, like here and here. So I actually built my own clip out of some plastic I had laying around and just matched it up to get the right angle. So that is all off, and used this product, Gorilla Glue Epoxy, and just lathered it all over everything to get it nice and strong. So that's dry. So tomorrow the windshield goes in, I'll reattach the trim, and like I said, so she's coming along here. I got my battery on order. I've got my getting the car detailed and cleaned up nice. And so the next video I should have the windshield on, the trim back on, and hopefully maybe the short shifter or a couple other of the small pieces on. I got some new stickers on order too for this. And they are not cheap, but I wanted to go ahead and do that. So that's where we're at. I'll be back in a week or so with some more updates, hopefully, if everything shows up and I get it installed. Thanks for watching. Leave me some questions or comments if you have them.